Good morning and welcome to the Planning Hearing Officer hearings for March 13th, 2013. My name is Laura Stotler and I am serving today as Planning Hearing Officer. We have 4 cases and relevant exhibits are posted on the panels located directly behind me. The agenda, staff reports, and recommendations for each of today's cases can be found on the city's website. A copy of the hearing procedures are available on the counter by the front door next to our agendas and copies of the reports. If anybody wishes to speak, please submit a speaker's request form. Under the provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.42 of the Glendale Municipal Code, a conditional use permit shall be granted if 4 required findings are present. For applications involving the sale, serving, or consumption of alcoholic beverages, there are also an additional 5 criteria that shall be considered in making the 4 required findings. And you'll find those findings made in the staff reports that accompany each item. If you're giving a presentation, I ask you to please quickly overview those findings. If you agree with what's in the staff report, you may state that. If the evidence presented on the application and at the hearings meet those criteria, then the planning hearing officer can either approve or impose conditions for approval on the case in question. If the findings of fact are not evident, then the request will be denied. Notification of this hearing was accomplished by use of public notices, which were mailed to property owners and occupants located within 500 feet of the subject property, physically posted on the site in question, and placed in the local newspaper, and also posted on the city's website. So the hearings will proceed as follows. First, I'll read a description of the requested entitlements. Then the case planner will make a brief overview of the case, give an analysis, and make a recommendation. The applicant will then be asked to come forward, stating both name and address, and will be asked to present the case within a 15-minute time limit. Others in support of or in opposition to the application and interested parties will be asked to come forward to speak, stating both name and address, and will have a 3-minute time limit. Lastly, the applicant will be given the opportunity to make closing comments if desired in response to any testimonies given by the preceding speakers, and there will be a 5-minute time limit for the rebuttal. The hearing will be closed and then action taken on the case, or the case will be taken under submission. After the hearing, the decision will be prepared in writing and will be in the form of a letter sent to the applicant and to all persons who respond to the public notice, either by speaking today at this hearing or who have submitted written responses and who have also provided their name and mailing address. The date of the decision will be the date appearing on the letter, or if a decision is made here at this hearing, it'll be today's date. Under the appeal provisions of Title 30, Chapter 30.62 of the Glendale Municipal Code, decisions may be appealed to the Planning Commission within 15 days of the date of the decision. Anyone wishing to appeal may obtain forms and brochures on the procedures from the Permit Services Center, which is located in this building in room 101. If you wish to speak again, please write your name and address on one of these green speakers forms, and please submit it to our planning assistant. I would like to inform everyone that the official proceedings of this hearing are being recorded as part of the public record. So for the first case, actually I do have a continuation. I want to announce that too. For those who are here for case located at 2941 Honolulu Avenue, this is Leo's All-Star Sports Bar, conditional use permit PCUP 1301665. This case is going to be continued right now to March 27th without further public notice. So we will proceed with the first case now for today. This is located at 3731 Foothill Boulevard, Moon Barbecue No. 3 Restaurant. This is a continued case from February 27th, 2013. It's conditional use permit PCUP 1231636, a request for CUP for beer and wine. The applicant is Cindy Boknam Yin, and the case planner is Chris Baxter. This is an application for a conditional use permit to allow the on-site sales, service, and consumption of beer and wine with meals at a full-service restaurant located at 3731 Foothill Boulevard in the commercial hillside zone. Okay, with that, I'd like to ask the case planner to please provide an overview of the case.
Yes, Ms. Stotler. The Moon Barbecue restaurant is located in a shopping center. Oh, real quickly, I'm sorry, the plans are on the left side of the board up there. In fact, let me just real quick, I'll just show you. We have a shopping center constructed in 2007, and the restaurant is located here in the center of the shopping center, and here's Foothill Boulevard to the south. The area is located in a commercial zone up and down the street, and a residential that is uphill behind it. to the north on Danny Street. The staff is recommending approval of the project because this particular location has been recognized as a full-service restaurant since the shopping center was constructed. There were parking reductions to allow this particular business to be located there. Everything has been going well up to this time. The analysis that we have in the staff report is just a summary of the findings that are required as part of a conditional use permit and the additional findings when there's alcohol involved. The brief overview is that we feel that this particular use, which is, as I mentioned, been in existence for a while without problems, and all they're asking now is just to continue it, as consistent with the general plan and elements of the general plan, such as the circulation element and the noise ordinance. And we feel that there's adequate public and private facilities and that there won't be any negative impacts on the surrounding area. We also noted that the police department said that this particular restaurant is one of two restaurants in the area that provide alcohol services where 5 businesses are allowed, so only 2 of 5, so they're under the number that the particular district would allow. And there's never been any calls for crime here at this particular business. No other comments were submitted from other departments. We have standard conditions relating to noise and nuisance, and there's always continuing jurisdiction over the particular business should there be a problem. As far as the findings go, these basically that are in the staff report pretty much just summarize what I was going through. We feel that the project is consistent with the elements of the general plan, as I noted, or the land use, the circulation, noise element. The project would not be detrimental to the community, that there's not going to be any adverse or conflicting impacts with the surrounding areas, and that because this project has been there since 2007, or that location is a restaurant with the shopping center, the facilities are public facilities are already there. So anyway, that's not much else I can say on it other than what I have to keep it very brief. And so if you have any questions, I can go through.
Have you received any letters from any neighbors?
No, ma'am. I think we only have one comment from the police department.
Okay. I don't have any further questions. I would like to call on the applicant's representative, Alex Wu, please.
Good morning, Ms. Fowler. How are you? My name is Alex Wu, representing Ms. Cindy Yim. Due to her recent medical condition, she wasn't able to join us this morning. But I feel that I'll be able to more than adequately answer any questions. At this time, I would like to thank Mr. Baxter and all his assistants in preparation for this hearing, and just helping us along with the whole process. So, if it would please the hearing officer, in the interest of time, would you like for me to hit on all the findings per the application, or
That would be fine.
or just a quick overview summary in addition to what Mr. Baxter has already stated?
If you agree with the findings that are in the staff report, you can give a
Okay.
quick overview and just state that you agree with the findings that were made in the report.
Yes, so basically, in addition to what Mr. Baxter said, this restaurant has been here since 2007. It's a full-service Korean barbecue restaurant. Has serviced the residents and the patrons in the immediate area. It's one of 2 Korean barbecue restaurants in La Crescenta Glendale portion. As stated, has never been a nuisance location. Is one of 2 ABC licenses in this particular census tract. So we feel that it's been a good neighbor and a good operator. Feel that this is something that's it continues to be an asset to the community. It gives a variety of choices to the adjacent residents. So we feel that a continued use of the CUP to allow the on sale of beer and wine is warranted, and we respectfully request the approval of the CUP. And we had a chance to review the conditions of approval, and we concur with all the conditions of approval at this time.
Okay. We did note that there are some signs that are not in compliance with the zoning code. So if we add a condition of approval that requires all signs to be in accordance with the zoning code. Would you be amenable to that?
Yes, ma'am, but could you let us know as to which signs you're talking about?
We have some window signs that are out of compliance, so we just want to make sure that everything is brought into compliance with the
Sure,
code.
sure thing.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else wishing to speak on this item? I do not see a card for anybody else wishing to speak at 3731 Foothill Boulevard. Seeing none, I'll ask the applicant again. You do have an opportunity for closing remarks if you'd like to make any. I know we haven't had any conflicting testimony, but if you'd like to, you're welcome to.
I don't have anything further at this time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Then, I'm now closing this public hearing, and I am able to make the findings as outlined in the staff report distributed for this project. I am making one modification to the condition to require that the signs in the building for the restaurant actually comply with the zoning code. So for that, I am approving this project subject to those conditions, and today would be the decision date for that item. Okay. So for the next item, we now have 703 South Glendale Avenue. This is Mission Wine and Spirits. It's conditional use permit case number PCUP 1237650. The applicant is Shirley Gepremian. Case planner is Kathy Duarte. This is an application for a conditional use permit to allow the sale of alcohol for off-site consumption and the addition of on-site alcoholic beverage tasting and a 1,000 square foot addition of floor area at an existing liquor store, Mission Wine and Spirits, located at 708 South Glendale Avenue. And with that, I would like to ask the case planner for an overview.
Thank you, Hearing Officer Stotler. This property is located on the southeast corner of Maple Street and Glendale Avenue. The site contains a 5,475 square foot building with 2 tenant spaces, currently a liquor store and a vacant auto shop. The applicant is proposing to remodel the vacant auto shop and add 1,000 square feet to the existing building. The addition of square footage and on-site alcohol beverage tasting to the liquor store requires a conditional use permit. Conditional use permits for the sale of alcohol were not required for markets or liquor stores until 2002. The existing use is legal non-conforming. There are 14 existing parking spaces. 4 additional parking spaces are required for the additional 1,000 square feet. The applicant is proposing to provide the required parking for a total of 18 parking spaces. The code-required parking lot landscaping is proposed to be provided as well. Comments received from the police department noted that this establishment is in an area that is not over-concentrated, does not have a higher than average crime rate, and does not appear that this establishment contributes to the crime rate. Staff believes that the findings, which can be found in the staff report, for the conditional use permit can be made and recommend that the request be granted. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
The only question I did have is I just want to verify with you and also with the applicant that the instructional tasting area would be just located in this one area right here. So when the applicant comes up, I'd like you to address that, please. And then what type of permit do they have right now for ABC?
Alcohol? I'm actually not sure.
Okay.
Maybe the applicant answer
Then
that.
I'll ask the applicant to
Okay.
verify that. All right. I have no other questions. I would like to call on the applicant, and you'll have 15 minutes to present Ms. Shogi Gepremian from Gepremian Consulting.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Stotler. My name is Shogi Gepremian, via Gepremian Consulting. You have my address and phone number on record. I'm the applicant on this CUP application and also here this morning representing my client, who is the property owner as well as the business owner of Mission Wine and Spirit, and he's here today as well to answer any questions if necessary. My client purchased the subject property in May of 2012. The subject site is located at the southeast corner of Glendale Avenue and Maple Street. This is his second business location in the city of Glendale. He has one on Glen Oaks Avenue in the city of Glendale. He has another store in Sherman Oaks, and his original store is in Pasadena. This is a very reputable liquor store throughout these communities. The 5,475 square foot shopping center was developed in 1939 as a neighborhood retail center with various retail uses throughout the time. After 1993, the uses included a deli, market, and a liquor store. The second tenant was an auto body shop, which is currently vacant, as Kathy mentioned. The building and the site, of course, needs some remodeling. Nothing much has been done since 1939. My client is proposing to expand the building by 1,000 square feet and create a one-tenant, one-space condition with some exterior remodeling as well. A separate design review board application is currently being prepared pending this approval. So the exterior modification, including the 1,000 square foot addition, will be reviewed by the design review board after the approval of this conditional use permit. The 1,000 square feet that's being added, if you can see on the plans, is mostly for storage purposes, an office, and restrooms. So the retail space, even though there is an additional 1,000 square feet, the retail space between currently and the auto body area is not being changed. For that 1,000 square feet, 4 additional parking spaces are required per code. My client's architect was able to add those 4 parking spaces on site. Because of the addition, landscaping requirements are also triggered, which included landscaping buffer along Glendale Avenue and Maple Street, and along the residential zone side, which is towards the east. So landscaping requirement and parking requirements are going to be met, so there will be no need for a parking reduction permit application or parking use permit application. As part of the CUP application, the owner is also proposing to provide wine, beer, and spirit tasting, instructional tasting service to their clients, and I would like to get into that in a minute. All required findings were prepared and submitted as part of the conditional use permit application. We reviewed the findings, also drafted by staff, and we agree with the findings. The conditions, I do have 1 or 2 recommendations as well. In terms of what he currently has, he has Type 21 ABC license, which is for the purpose of selling alcoholic beverages for off-site consumption. Again, this is a very similar operation to his Glen Oaks store operation. He is also proposing to file for Type 86, which is instructional tasting permit through ABC, as well as Type 42. Type 42 requires that a separate wine bar area is shown, which we have presented on the plans and submitted for the record. If you would like to have a copy of his City of Pasadena ABC license, which he has Type 21, Type 86, and Type 42, and the same permits also apply to Red Carpet Liquor Store, which is on Glen Oaks. So I would like to submit those 2 for the record to show that other liquor stores in the city also have 21, Type 21, Type 42, and Type 86. So if I can submit those
Sure.
for the record.
Thanks. I just want to clarify that for the Type 42, it's not their intention to have a full-service bar, their intention is to have a tasting bar, is that correct?
Correct. That's correct. Again, in my findings, I indicated that this business in no way will turn into a bar or tavern. There's no music, no other uses that will trigger or, be a detriment to the neighborhood. It's very much similar to other liquor stores like Red Carpet, Remedy, his other store on Glen Oaks, and his other businesses in Pasadena and Sherman Oaks. There are strict requirements by ABC when they issue this type of licenses, but it seems like there's more integration now between ABC and local jurisdictions, and the fact that in the findings and then the description and conditions, specific types of licenses are indicated. So we would like to make it clear what type of licenses he will be applying through ABC. We don't want any problems when he goes to ABC and having us to come back for another hearing. So if, let me look at the conditions again. I think we were particularly concerned with condition number 20, when it talked about tastings, and tastings is done under 42 and 86. That condition limits or requires another CUP, when type 42 is filed. So we are here indicating that both 86 and 42 will be filed through ABC.
Okay.
And then the last condition, which is the authorization granted shall be valid for 5 years. We would like to propose that if that condition can be for 7 years or 10 years timeline. Again, this has been a liquor store for the last few years. He has operated 3 other liquor stores. He's very reputable. So if we can propose that time extension on this is extended to 7 to 10 years. So those are the changes that I recommend, and we have read the findings and agree with the other conditions as presented by staff. Again, the business owner and operators present, if you have any specific questions about his operation, he's here to answer as well.
Would you have any opposition to adding a condition that limits the number of seats at the wine bar to what you're showing on your plan?
What would be the limitation?
I'm more concerned that this doesn't turn into a Type 42
Correct.
bar as the main use,
Correct.
rather than
No,
an,
it will
essentially
not. Right.
an accessory. So I'm interested in limiting the number of seats that could be at the wine bar to make sure it doesn't expand into a bar. And I'm not saying your client may have that, but it may expand to someone else.
12?
Should they sell it?
He thinks 12 should be sufficient.
12 seats? All right. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't have anything else. And again, we agree with the findings presented. And again, this is, I think this is a positive addition to Glendale and to this particular neighborhood. And in the past, it hasn't been a detriment to the neighborhood. And again, he has a very reputable business operation, and we'll look forward to this use in the city.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, I have. What do I have? I have Vicken Munkarian, then followed by Mike Agabeg.
He
Doesn't wish to speak?
You don't have his question.
Okay. No, I don't have questions. So Vicken Munkarian waives his right to speak. Then I have Mike Agabeg, followed by Robert Toro. Oh, I'm sorry, Robert Toro is a different item, sorry. Mike Agabeg would be the next speaker.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Mike Agabeg. I have a multifamily property since 1979 in the neighborhood. I'm very familiar with it. And I would like to voice my opposition
Okay.
to the consumption of liquor in this particular location for the following reasons. So-called testing of liquor is consumption of liquor. And I noticed that you were concerned about the number of seats, but I submit that people can drink standing up, and many parties do. Secondly, I object because of the proximity of the neighborhood schools, including a preschool next door, and many children that live in the proximity, including my own building. Thirdly, the school-age children walk by this place to go to school, and there are many schools in the area. Holy Family on one side, the Roosevelt Junior High on the other side, not to mention the preschool next door. Finally, I object because of the, and I concur that you are adding parking spaces, and that's good. However, Maple Street is a very busy street. Many times, when I park across the street from my own building, I have a hard time crossing without people flipping me off, and because of my age, I don't walk quite as fast, and they get angry because they like to go from one stop sign to the next red light very quickly. And the parking is a big problem, very big problem, especially during the street cleaning days, which, by the way, does not happen as it is signed, as its signs indicate. You get the ticket, but you don't get the street cleaning. But anyway, those are the reasons why I object to the consumption. I'm familiar with the liquor store before, and there was never any problem there. We don't object to the sale of liquor. The consumption of liquor is the problem. And all of the problems that will ensue because of that, none that I can foresee right now, and neither can you, but it will occur. So those are my reasons. I'd be happy to answer.
Well, at this point, they're not proposing to expand the actual liquor store area, and you're right, it is just, what they're adding is, as shown here, a tasting area, a wine bar. And so do have problems, at least as far as with the site design goes. I understand that you have objection to the tasting of liquor, but do you have any objections at all to the site plan that they're showing? If you're living nearby, it looks like they are adding parking spaces. They're also adding landscaping. That right now there is no landscaping in that parking lot adjacent to the
Those are improvements,
residential.
and we have no objection to that.
Okay.
The objection is to the consumption of liquor.
Right. Have you seen any problems with the way that the previous location ran as a liquor store? Did you notice any problems at all
Previous
in the
location
neighborhoods
did
from
not,
that?
but they did not consume liquor there.
Right.
It was a liquor store. Actually, it was a variety store. They sold more than just liquor. And but the consumption of liquor is the question, not the sale of liquor.
No, I understand your concern. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, those are it, and
Okay.
would appreciate your rejection of their request.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this item? Okay, then I will call forward the applicant for a rebuttal.
Thank you, Ms. Stotler, and I would like to thank the neighbor who came out today and to speak on this case. I would like to remind him, in terms of parking and landscaping, what we're proposing, it's much of an improvement compared to what the site looks like right now. As I indicated, the retail area is not being expanded. It's going to be used as a storage, office, and restroom. So technically, he will be complying with the retail requirements of parking. However, the use is not being enlarge as far as the retail space is concerned. And of course, with the addition, the landscaping requirements, and it will provide the landscaping buffer between his property and this site. In terms of instructional wine tasting or alcohol tasting, ABC, Alcoholic Beverage Control, has very strict requirements. Some of those requirements staff also highlighted as part of this approval, which includes the hours that the instructional tasting will take place, that there will be no charge, that there has to be an authorized licensee who will conduct the instructional tasting event. Condition number 13, which says shall not permit any consumer to leave the instructional tasting area with an open container of alcohol, no person under 21. An instructional tasting event shall be limited to a single type of alcoholic beverage during each event. And condition number 17, which I believe the property owner is concerned with, a single tasting of distilled spirits shall not exceed 1/4 of 1 ounce, and a single tasting of wine shall not exceed 1 ounce. No more than 3 tastings of distilled spirits or wine shall be provided to any person on any day. The tasting of beer is limited to 8 ounces of beer per person per day. And then number 18, no more than 1 authorized licensee or its designated representative may conduct an instructional tasting event on the premises per day. Again, these are some of the requirements by ABC, and the city also included these conditions, which the city has the right to monitor and enforce. Furthermore, the police department did not have any concerns specifically for this site, either prior use or my client's business, which he has been operating since last year. There are other liquor stores within the city. He has his second business on Glen Oaks, which operates in a very clean and proper manner. The police department never had issues with his business at that location. And again, with Reed Carpet and Remedy, they have similar business operation with similar type of licenses from ABC. So, again, I would like to thank the property owner for raising those concerns, but I believe that city staff have properly covered those concerns through the conditions of approval. Thank you.
Thanks. And also, I'd like to say that those limitations on the size of servings, that comes directly from the state law for the Type 86 license, and you would be required to follow that under a Type 86 license. It is designed just for tasting, not to have a bar, and that's really the distinction. With that, I appreciate those who came to testify. I believe, although I know we have an opposition to the tasting, I believe that we have provided adequately for findings. I think there's sufficient conditions of approval that have been identified in the staff report. We've heard from the applicant and the intention to comply with the requirements. The only thing I would say is I do understand the concern with the condition number 20, that was should Mission Wine Spirits desire to conduct tastings under another type of license, a new conditional use permit would be required. I would strike out these such as a Type 42 and realize that you are applying for a Type 86, a Type 21, which you already have, plus a Type 42 is desired in the future. I would put out a caution that if you do a Type 42, be aware of the requirements of age to enter the building. I believe it's adults only for the entire premises, not just when you're doing tastings. So consider that when you make your application, because you can do wine tasting without having a Type 42. And with that, I will keep condition 29, that the authorization shall be for a 5-year period. I will keep that as it is. With those modifications, I will approve this project today. Today will be the approval date on the letter of decision. And that concludes that hearing item. Our next item is going to be 133 South Glendale Avenue, Shakey's Pizza Parlor. This is conditional use permit PCUP 1232548. It's a renewal for beer and wine. And it's also a conditional use permit PCUP 1232552 for arcade devices. We understand that there's been a change in the law regarding arcade devices, and that will be explained in the staff report. This is a renewal of a conditional use permit to allow the continued sales, service, and on-site consumption of beer and wine, and a conditional use permit to allow the operation of an arcade, 5 or more arcade devices, on an existing fast food restaurant located at 1133 South Glendale Avenue in the C3 Commercial Services Height District 1 and the R2250P medium-density residential parking overlay zones. And with that, I'd like to call for a staff report.
Thank you, Ms. Stotler. As you stated, today we're reviewing 2 conditional use permits for this location, Shakey's Pizza, located at 1133 South Glendale Avenue. The applicant is proposing to continue the sales, service, and on-site consumption of their beer and wine and to operate an arcade establishment with more than 5 arcade devices at the existing fast food restaurant. The previous CUP on file, which expired, it was good for 10 years and expired September 30th of 2012, was also for the consumption of beer and wine at the existing fast food restaurant. And in addition to that, what was previously defined as a place of amusement in our zoning code, which now no longer exists. I'll just wait for you to transfer the panels.
Thanks.
Thank you. In the previous conditional use permit, it limited the number, there was a condition that limited the number of arcade devices to a maximum of 4. And by having the proposal now include, by definition, 5 or more arcade devices is now considered or defined as an arcade establishment in our zoning code, which requires a conditional use permit. Again, it's conditionally permitted in the C3 zone. And for this reason, that's why there are 2 entitlements or 2 conditional use permit requests before you today. One for the continued ancillary service of the beer and wine, and one to, in this case, is actually to operate a new arcade establishment, again, by definition in our zoning code. As you can see in the floor plan, and it's highlighted in the staff report, the arcade devices and additional games are located in a specific location, which is designated as a game room in their floor plan, and it's located towards the rear of the restaurant, closer to the exit. It's not right when you walk in through the front door from Glendale Avenue. And I've been inside the building. It does operate as a pizza parlor, in this case fast food restaurant by definition, where you walk in, you approach the counter, you order your meal, you sit down, then there are there's little different areas to sit, and if you're having a little private party, they have a little designation for that as well, which again does not exceed the maximum allowable for a private function. And then they have the game room, because this type of location caters to families with kids, so while you're having your meal, the kids probably will go in the game room and play a few games. So that's just to kind of give an overview in terms of their operation. They are Zone C3 and also R2250P overlay, which is parking overlay, and that's located at the rear parking lot area abutting the multifamily building. But the building itself, Shakey's, is located in a multi-tenant commercial center. They're actually kind of sort of a standalone, and separated by the driveway, and then you have some commercial retail uses and another type of food establishment within those tenant spaces. Staff was able to make all the required findings in terms of it being consistent with the various elements and objectives of the general plan, how it won't be is detrimental to the public health or safety or general welfare of the environment, and how that the facility will not adversely affect or conflict with adjacent uses or impede the normal development of the surrounding property, as this establishment has been there for decades now. And lastly, that there is adequate public and private facilities that will continue to be provided for the existing use. And lastly, the 5 additional questions that are required for this type of service, which would be the beer and wine. Staff was able to make those additional findings as well. And lastly, the police department did not have any concerns or specific objection to the request. They do highlight that there is a slight overconcentration where there's, in this particular census tract, where they're allowed to have 4 on-sale alcohol establishments, 3 rather, there are 4. So they're just up by 1. And in terms of their overconcentration, they didn't have any issues with it. And they do have recorded 56 crimes in this census tract, and 11, which is 11% below the citywide average of 63. And finally, that there were 13 calls for service at this location. However, 11 out of the 13 were false alarm calls. Staff does recommend some conditions, and one of them includes which is the last one, to continue or grant the request for another 10 years as they had the last time. And if there's any changes, that a reapplication must be made. And with that, if there's any questions for staff, I'll be available, but staff is recommending approval with conditions.
Well, and I just want to clarify that as far as overconcentration, one of the licenses is already issued.
Correct. Yeah, they are one of the
Non-additional.
licenses already that exist, so they're not, adding a new one to that census.
Okay. Well, the hearing is open. I'd like to call on the applicant or his representative, Robert Toro.
Hi, my name is Robert Toro. I'm the applicant on this shaky CUP renewal. The planner did an outstanding job on summarizing this case. We agree with the staff report. The Shakey's has been here 20 years. We're looking to continue the operation for another 20 plus. In that regard, the only amendment to the conditions that we would request is to have this conditional use permit done in perpetuity instead of having it expire in 10 years. Shakey's is a family restaurant. We're not have any sort of adverse interest to the local community, and considering this location has been here 30 plus years, and plans to be around for another 30 plus years, they'd like to avoid having to come back and renew. I think this is probably the 4th or 5th time they've come and renewed this CUP since the store opened, and in that otherwise we request recommendation for approval.
Okay, thanks. I have no further questions. Does anybody else? I see one other person in the audience. Don't wish to speak? All right. Did you have any closing remarks you want to make? All right. With that, I will close this public hearing. I have heard all the conditions and the findings that are needed to be made on this. They're all contained in the staff report. I do agree with the conditions for the CUP as well as the conditions and the findings for the arcade establishment. So with that, I do understand that the applicant wishes to have longer than 10 years. However, 10 years is the maximum that we do provide regularly, so I will not change that condition. But I will approve both of these CUPs with the conditions that are provided in the staff report. So the decision date is today's date. All right. Thank you. There's no further hearings items on this agenda. This meeting is now adjourned. And thank you for coming.